After the car accident, I spent 3 years in a nursing home abroad. When I returned to my home country, I was shocked to find that my husband, Julian, had actually brought his first love into our home and even had a child with her. He gently coaxed the adult and the child beside him, and then looked at me coldly. Isabella, Daphne is the woman I recognize as my wife. There is no place for you here anymore. If you know what's good for you, get out of this house immediately. I nodded and chose to divorce him without hesitation. As expected, Julian was about to face his downfall. After my body recovered, I finally left the nursing home and returned to my home country with great joy. I called Julian the first thing I did and asked him to pick me up at the airport. I thought he would be as excited as I was and welcome me with a bouquet of roses in his arms. But when I landed, I couldn't see him at all. There wasn't even a single message on my phone. I thought he was busy, so I took a taxi back to the warm little home that held countless memories of us. But as soon as I entered the door, I saw a strange child sitting on the sofa. Julian's gentle voice came from the kitchen. "Baby, go and call Mom. We can have dinner soon. Daddy has made your favorite sweetens our pork ribs." As soon as he finished speaking, Julian's first love, Daphne, walked out in her pajamas. Her slightly protruding belly revealed her status as a pregnant woman. I stood there in disbelief, stunned. What's going on here? Hearing my voice, Julian immediately walked out of the kitchen and stared at me coldly. Then he said matter-of-factly, "Can't you tell? Daphne and I are together, and that's our child." After saying that, he walked past me, gently supported Daphne to sit on the sofa, and then held the child in his arms. "Isabella, the food in the kitchen is already ready. Go and bring the dishes over." He was so shameless that he was treating me like a servant. I sneered and desperately suppressed the surging anger in my chest. "Julian, don't you want to explain?" He looked at me impatiently. "Can you stop being unreasonable? The child is here, and Daphne is pregnant. Don't scare them. Go and rent a house. Don't come here anymore. I'll find a chance to talk to you properly about our business." After saying that, he picked up a grape from the fruit platter, carefully peeled it, and fed it into Daphne's mouth as if no one else was around. The three of them sat together, making me feel like an outsider. I stared blankly at this scene, my mind going completely blank. I didn't know what had happened during the 3 years I was recuperating. How could Julian have suddenly changed like this? He clearly hated the cooking fumes in the kitchen and didn't like children either. 3 years ago, I found out that I was pregnant. This good news made me overjoyed, and I couldn't wait to tell him. However, when he saw the pregnancy test report, his face immediately darkened. Without giving me a chance to explain, he wanted to take me to have an abortion. I was at a loss and cried as I asked him the reason. But he was very cold-hearted. "Isabella, this isn't the right time to have a child. My career is just getting started. I can't lose my composure because of a child." He came at the worst possible time. After saying that, despite my desperate pleading, he forcefully dragged me into the car. Unexpectedly, we had a car accident on the way. I lost the baby, and I also spent 3 days in the intensive care unit. When I woke up, I was completely devastated. But he acted as if nothing had happened, and he wasn't even around most of the time. I was weak, so I asked him to make me some nourishing soup. But he told me to do it myself with a cold face. It was completely different from the way he was cooking for Daphne and her child now. Until one day he, who usually came home late, actually came back early. He looked at me tenderly and said, "Wife, a friend of mine recommended a nursing home abroad to me. I'll send you there. Take good care of your injuries and don't leave any lingering effects." I was flattered. I thought he was really doing it for my own good, so I agreed without thinking. After going abroad, I found that the conditions of this nursing home were very harsh. There were even frequent cases of the nursing staff bullying the patients. I couldn't stand it anymore, so I called Julian. But he scolded me instead. "Isabella, can you stop being so delicate? Do you know how busy I am every day? You know our current situation. It's already good enough that I can send you to a nursing home. If you really can't stand it, just come back by yourself. Don't blame me for disliking you if you end up disabled." After saying that, before I could react, he hung up the phone directly. But on that day, he actually posted a status on his social media for the first time. "I only wish my love will always be like a little princess, healthy and carefree." In the attached picture, there was a diamond ring. I thought the love he was talking about was me. I felt so sweet in my heart. From then on, I made up my mind to do a good job in my rehabilitation. No matter how difficult the conditions were, I gritted my teeth and persevered. That diamond ring that represented love became my spiritual pillar. I fantasized countless times that when I returned to my home country, Julian would put that ring on my finger with his own hands. But I never expected that at this moment, the ring that I had been longing for was actually on Daphne's hand. The love in Julian's mouth was definitely not me. A feeling of suffocation welled up in my heart, and my eyes became sour. I could barely stand steadily. But Julian still didn't even glance at me. He only had eyes for Daphne. Daphne and Julian were childhood sweethearts, and she was his first love that he couldn't have. He had confessed to Daphne countless times, but he always lost to another man. The day I first met Julian, it happened to be the time when he had just failed to confess to Daphne again. He sat on the bench looking lost, with red eyes. The melancholy young man caught my attention like this. And I couldn't stop myself from falling for him. Even though I later found out about his feelings for Daphne, I didn't mind at all. I was even touched by his deep affection. I thought I could help him get out of the pain of love and make him fall in love with me. But I never expected that it was all just my wishful thinking. All these years, even though he had married me, Julian had never forgotten Daphne. He was even willing to kick me aside for her. Julian went to the kitchen and brought out the food. When he saw that I was still standing there, he immediately became annoyed. "Didn't I tell you to go and live elsewhere? What are you still doing here?" I held back my anger and pointed at Daphne and her child. "Julian, don't you think you should give me a reasonable explanation?" He pushed me impatiently. "Get out of here now. If you have anything to say, come to my company tomorrow and talk to me." I couldn't fall asleep all night. My mind was filled with memories of Julian and me over the years. Early the next morning, I went to the company with red and swollen eyes. Unexpectedly, as soon as I entered the gate, I was stopped by the receptionist. I was taken aback. Thinking that she didn't recognize me, I took the initiative to explain. "I'm Julian's wife." But she sneered and pushed me hard. "Get out of here. Now anyone dares to pretend to be Julian's wife. Don't you even look at yourself and see if you're worthy?" I steadied myself against the wall and stared at her angrily. "What do you mean? Julian and I are legally married. Does he have another wife?" The receptionist rolled her eyes and looked at me with disdain. "Julian's wife often brings the child to the company, and we've all seen her. I really don't know where this slut came from. Don't you even bother to find out anything before pretending to be someone else?" When the employees beside heard her words, they also started whispering among themselves. "Who is this woman? She looks like a vixen. Could she be Julian's mistress? How could that be? Everyone knows that Julian loves his wife the most. Besides, his wife is pregnant now. He wouldn't find a mistress." Only then did I realize that the Julian's wife they were talking about was actually Daphne. It must be that during the 3 years I was away, she had pretended to be me. "What nonsense are you talking about? I'm Julian's wife. Daphne is the mistress. She's the one who pretended to be me." The receptionist sneered and didn't take my words seriously at all. "You really know how to flatter yourself. Everyone knows that Julian loves Miss Daphne the most. Why would she need to pretend to be you? If you have any sense of shame, get out of here right away. Otherwise, I'll call the police." The insults one after another made me clench my teeth. "Where's Julian? Tell him to come down immediately." The receptionist gave me a dirty look. "You bitch, you want to seduce Julian again, don't you? Security guards, throw her out." Don't let her act like a slut here. I was so angry that my hands were shaking. I rushed up and slapped her. Just then Julian's voice suddenly came from behind me. Stop. Isabella, are you crazy? Did you come to the company on purpose to cause trouble? When the receptionist saw Julian, she was like seeing a savior. Julian, this woman is pretending to be the wife and even insulted her as a mistress. I just said a few words to her, and she attacked me. Julian's face was cold, and there was a moment of uneasiness in his expression. Isabella, do you have to make things look so ugly? I said I would give you an explanation. Can you just shut up for now? Looking at Julian's arrogant appearance, all the anger and grievance in my heart finally burst out. Why should I shut up, Julian? You have to make things clear to me today. Who is the mistress between me and Daphne? Don't you know in your own heart? Julian's face darkened immediately. Isabella, I gave you a chance to save face, but you didn't want it. We've been separated for 3 years. You betrayed me first, so I got together with Daphne. Out of consideration for you going to a nursing home abroad, I didn't force you to get a divorce certificate. But now you're actually turning the tables on me. I roared hysterically. When did I ever betray you? Julian, are you really willing to lose all your conscience just to exonerate Daphne? However, the next moment, Julian threw a stack of photos in my face. I originally thought that since we were once husband and wife, I'd spare your blushes. Since you don't want it, then I'll let everyone see your slutty appearance. The sharp edges of the photos scratched my cheek, and I was in a daze. The photos that had scattered on the floor were picked up by the surrounding employees one after another. Goodness me, this is so disgusting. She's already had an affair, and she still has the nerve to call someone else a mistress. No wonder Julian doesn't want her. Who would dare to want someone so cheap? Each photo was extremely eye-popping. This isn't true. These photos are all photoshopped. Before I could explain clearly, Julian forcefully dragged me into his office. I was shaking all over and took deep breaths continuously. Julian, you bastard. You deliberately brought Daphne into the company and made everyone misunderstand her identity. You were trying to pave the way for her in advance, weren't you? In the face of my anger, Julian gave a faint smile. I originally thought you were a fool, but it turns out you're somewhat smart. That's right. Not only that, but I also had someone Photoshop those photos. Daphne is the girl I love the most in my life, and we already have 2 children. Naturally, I can't let your existence stand in our way. Isabella, be sensible and step aside voluntarily. I never dreamed that he could be so shameless. He said these words about his affair as if they were perfectly reasonable. So you schemed against me just to give Daphne a proper status? He directly nodded and admitted it. Of course I can't let her be a mistress who can't show her face for the rest of her life. As he spoke, he took out the divorce agreement that he had already prepared from the drawer. After all, we were husband and wife. There are 3 million in this card. Consider it as compensation for your youth over the years. You'd better be sensible in the future and don't come to cause trouble. Perhaps because I was extremely angry, I was unexpectedly calm. I looked at him coldly, took the divorce agreement from his hand, and signed my name without hesitation. Julian, this is your own choice. Don't regret it. After saying that, I turned around and left. Julian, I'll make you know that without me, you'll soon have nothing. When I came out of Julian's office, all the employees looked at me with disdain. They were convinced that I was the slut who had an affair first. The photos that were full of false accusations were seen as irrefutable evidence in their eyes. They were even being passed around continuously. I told you this woman is a vixen. She really knows how to have fun. Julian is so unlucky to have such an ex-wife like her. She has a good figure though. I wonder how much she charges for one night. The lewd gazes kept lingering on me and didn't restrain themselves in the slightest because of my presence. Among these people, there were several old employees whom I had personally promoted. Now they were also shouting at me just like the others. Back then, when Julian said he wanted to start a business, I didn't hesitate to take out all my savings to support him. Even the difficulties encountered in the early days of the business were all solved by me for him. Later, he was dissatisfied with my taking the limelight and forced me to retreat to the background. Even so, I had been silently making sacrifices for him. Now he had become the glamorous Julian and people would fawn over him wherever he went. Yet he completely denied all my efforts and forced me to leave in such a despicable way. Since he was so heartless, there was no need for me to think about our past relationship anymore. As soon as I walked out of the company gate, I directly called Ethan, the head of the top wealthy Ethan family. The reason why Julian dared to suppress me so recklessly was that he still thought that I was an orphan with no one to rely on and no one to back me up, just like before. Little did he know that during these 3 years abroad, I had already found my own relatives. I was abducted when I was 5 years old, and the Ethan family had been looking for me for more than 20 years. Now they doted on me extremely and were crazy about making up for me. Among them, my eldest brother Ethan was the most exaggerated. During the 3 years I was abroad, he would visit me whenever he had time. He earnestly persuaded me to go back to the Ethan family with him. Because I couldn't let go of Julian, I refused him time and time again. Even considering his self-esteem, I didn't tell him about this immediately. I just asked Ethan to quietly give him some support. Without me, Julian's company would never have developed so rapidly in just 3 years. Now he was going to kick me aside after I had helped him. As soon as the call connected, I couldn't hold back anymore and cried out my grievances. Brother, from now on, you don't need to give any special care to Julian's company, and you don't need to invest in it either. Ethan immediately sensed that something was wrong with my mood. He seemed to be in a meeting. When he heard what I said, he directly suspended the meeting and walked out of the office. Isabella, what's wrong? What happened? Don't be afraid. Your brother will back you up no matter what. You don't need to worry about the company's affairs. As long as it's for you, even if Julian goes bankrupt, I can bring his company back to life. I couldn't help but give a bitter smile. Brother, really, there's no need. I've divorced Julian, and his company has nothing to do with me now. After a moment of silence, Ethan flew into a rage. What? Did he do something to let you down? It's all my fault. I should have stopped you from going back to the country. It was hard to explain clearly on the phone, so Ethan asked me to have a good rest first, and he himself directly prepared to take a private jet back to the country. In the evening, the driver picked me up and took me to the old mansion of the Ethan family. After hearing about my experiences, Ethan's face became even darker. He smoked 3 cigarettes in a row before he calmed down. Isabella, it's all my fault. If I could have found you earlier, you wouldn't have married such a scumbag. Don't worry. I'll make Julian realize what it means to regret his actions. Facing his loving and pitying gaze, I threw myself into his arms and cried my eyes out without caring about my appearance for the first time in my life. Ethan was very busy. After comforting me for a while, he immediately got back to work without a moment's rest. I opened a few bottles of wine and got myself drunk alone. Perhaps because of the effect of the alcohol, the more I thought about it, the more unwilling I felt. Why should I leave while those 2 despicable people, Julian and Daphne, could live in the house that I had bought with my money with a clear conscience? Thinking of this, I directly asked the driver to take me back. The sound of the door opening startled the 2 of them. As soon as he saw it was me, Julian immediately protected Daphne and started swearing at me. Isabella, are you crazy? Who let you in? Looking at Daphne standing in front of me with her head held high, holding the child's hand with one hand and her pregnant belly with the other, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Back then, Daphne had rejected Julian again and again for another man. It was obvious how deeply she had loved that man. Now how could she suddenly change her heart and give birth to a child for Julian? Thinking of this, I directly sneered. Julian, have you forgotten how much Daphne loved that man back then? I advise you to check carefully whether these 2 children are really yours. As soon as I finished speaking, a flash of guilt crossed Daphne's eyes. She was so emotional that she managed to squeeze out a few tears. Julian, don't you know what kind of person I am? How can she say such things about me? Julian's face was ferocious, and he grabbed my arm and tried to push me out. We're already divorced. There's no place for you here. Get out of here. Using brute force, I shook off his hand. It's you who should get out. Not to mention that we've only signed the divorce agreement and haven't got the divorce certificate yet. Even if we had got the divorce certificate, this house is in my name and it's my prenuptial property. So, whether we get divorced or not, I'm still the mistress of this house. After saying that, I kicked open the bedroom door and threw all the things on the table and the clothes in the closet onto the floor in one go. Seeing me like this, Julian's face turned black with anger. In the past, I had almost always been obedient to him and had played the role of a virtuous wife dutifully. He had never seen me act so recklessly. Isabella, get out of here. Julian walked towards me angrily. Don't touch me. If you dare to lay a hand on me, I'll call the police right away. Actually, I didn't want to stay in this house for even a single minute more. But I just didn't want Julian and Daphne to have their way. Julian, the baby is crying, and my stomach hurts too. Let's go, shall we? This place is full of the smell of this slut, and I feel sick just by smelling it. Daphne pitifully took Julian's arm with a look of grievance all over her face. Julian quickly held her and coaxed her. Daphne, don't be agitated. Calm down. When the investment from the Ethan Group arrives, I'll buy you and the baby a big villa. We don't care about this shabby house of hers. Julian left with Daphne, cursing all the way. I put this house up for sale on the second-hand market overnight. Although this was the first house I had bought on my own in my life, and it had great commemorative significance. But just thinking that Daphne had lived here for such a long time made me feel sick. It was better to sell it. Early the next morning, I was woken up by Julian's phone call. He urged me to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get the divorce certificate. When I got to the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, I found that Daphne was also there. She had her ID card and household register in her hand. Julian was planning to divorce me and then marry Daphne right away. He was really impatient. After the divorce procedures were completed, Daphne looked at me triumphantly. As if she had won a great battle. Until a Rolls-Royce stopped in front of me. Julian knew a lot about cars and could tell at a glance that this car was a limited edition with no more than 5 units in the world. His eyes widened. A handsome young man got out of the car. He walked up to me under the disbelieving gazes of Julian and Daphne. Isabella, your brother is too busy with work to come, so he specifically asked me to pick you up. This man's name was William, one of my brother's few good friends. He also came from a top wealthy family. I felt a little embarrassed. It's not necessary to go to so much trouble. I can handle such a small matter on my own. As soon as I finished speaking, Julian came over with a distorted expression. Isabella, you bitch. What's your relationship with him? How dare you cheat on me? I frowned and looked at him speechless. Lie. Don't you know who's cheating on whom? Also, we're already divorced. This is my personal business, and it's none of your business. Julian's face turned green with anger. He was really double-standard. He was so confident about his own affair, but he couldn't stand it when I talked to another man. He sized up William. I don't know what he thought of, but his eyes were filled with jealousy and a hint of disdain. Your little lover's outfit and this car must cost a lot of money to rent, right? No wonder you're so insistent on getting this shabby house. You probably want to get more money to keep a gigolo. Seeing that he was saying more and more unpleasant things, I couldn't stand it anymore and was about to retort. But William stopped me. Is this your ex-husband who had an affair? He's really blind. Julian, I heard that your company has just started to do well in the past 2 years. You should be careful about what you say in the future. Don't accidentally offend someone you shouldn't. If your company goes bankrupt, your mistress might leave you. Julian's face immediately turned as black as the bottom of a pot. What nonsense are you talking about? When the investment from the Ethan Group comes in, I can buy 10 of these crappy cars at once. William opened the passenger door. After I got in, he looked at Julian with a half smile. Really? Then I wish you get what you want, Julian. We'll meet again soon. After saying that, he stepped on the gas pedal and drove away. He ignored Julian, who was hopping mad behind him. I looked at William with some embarrassment, wanting to apologize for involving him in what had just happened. He didn't care. Isabella, you have to keep your eyes open when looking for a man in the future. There aren't many good men in this world, except your brother and me. I was amused by him. After having a meal together, I realized that the car had unknowingly driven to the downstairs of Julian's company. I looked at him in surprise. He smiled slightly. Your brother is still busy and will be here soon. Both of us think that since you have a grudge, it's more satisfying to avenge it yourself. After saying that, he pulled me out of the car. Downstairs of the company, the employees had already lined up into rows, and there was a banner hanging at the door, warmly welcome the Ethan group to visit and inspect. Daphne stood beside Julian with a smile on her face, holding her belly. She had just got the marriage certificate with Julian, and now she was the legitimate Mrs. Julian. However, when the two of them saw me and William appear, their faces immediately turned ugly. Julian frowned and angrily rebuked. Isabella, what do you want to do this time? Today is the day when Ethan comes to our company for an inspection. If you dare to cause trouble in the company again, I will never forgive you. Take your little lover and get out of here right now. The receptionist was even more eager to show off and rushed up to hit me. You bitch, is this the place for you to be? Where are the security guards? Throw these two bitches out right away. William frowned, grabbed her wrist, and gave a gentle push, sending her flying. Julian looked nervously behind me, as if he was afraid that the people from the Ethan group would suddenly appear and see this farce. He didn't want to make things too ugly, so he walked up to me. Don't you just want money? There's 500,000 in this card. Take it and get out of here. William looked at him with a half smile. Julian is really generous. You're offering 500,000 as hush money. Julian was so angry that the veins on his forehead were throbbing. What? Do you want to ask for an exorbitant price? You're just a gigolo who rises to power by relying on a woman. You might not have even seen 500,000 in your whole life. Get out of here right now or I'll call the security guards to beat you out. As soon as he finished speaking, an employee suddenly said, trembling, lie. Julian, he seems to be William, the billionaire of the William Group. Like Ethan, William often stayed out of the public eye, so not many people knew him. But there were always a few people who had seen the world. As soon as these words were spoken, Julian frowned suspiciously, and his face turned even uglier. Although his company had developed well in recent years, it was still no match for the William Group. It could be said that if William was really the billionaire of the William Group, then with just a flick of his finger, he could make Julian have no way out. However, he simply didn't believe it. What billionaire of the William Group? That's impossible. He's just a gigolo, fooling around with that bitch Isabella. The receptionist also chimed in. That's right. If he were really the billionaire of the William Group, how could he take a fancy to that woman? Seeing that no one believed him, William shrugged his shoulders and didn't explain. Just then, the car of the Ethan group arrived. The driver opened the car door, and Ethan got out. Julian quickly stepped forward and instantly changed his attitude, bowing and scraping. Hello, Ethan. It's such an honor to meet you. After saying that, he stretched out his hand, wanting to shake hands with Ethan. Unexpectedly, the latter ignored him completely. Then Ethan walked up to me, and his expression immediately softened. Let me introduce to you all. This is my sister, the long-lost daughter of the Ethan family. I asked my friend to accompany her and come here one step ahead. She's here to conduct the inspection on my behalf. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's eyes widened in surprise. Julian's face turned pale. This? Ethan, I've never heard that you have a sister. Could there be a mistake? Upon hearing this, Ethan immediately frowned. What do you mean? Are you doubting our Ethan family? My sister was abducted by human traffickers when she was 5 years old, and I didn't friend her abroad until 3 years ago. I asked her to come back to the Ethan family and settle down abroad, but unexpectedly, she couldn't let go of her husband. I was very sorry, but I could only respect her wish. Then, I never expected that as soon as she returned to the country, she was betrayed by that scumbag. That man not only forced her to have an abortion but also kept his mistress at home during the 3 years when she was recuperating abroad. He even slandered her character just to force her to divorce. Such a person is really the most disgusting person I'd ever seen in the world. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone looked at each other in dismay. Julian's face was ashen. Ethan looked at him with a half smile. Julian, tell me, isn't such a person disgusting? Julian didn't want to speak, but facing Ethan, whose status was so much higher than his, he had to force himself to open his mouth. Yes, yes, yes. Such a person really deserves to die. It's really disgusting. Ethan, let's talk about the business. Business? William beside him burst out laughing. What business is there to talk about? Ethan is notorious for being vengeful. After you treated his sister like this, do you still expect him to invest in you? Now that my identity was clear, it was self-evident whether William was the billionaire of the William family. Offending 2 wealthy families at once, Julian finally knew what despair was. If he wanted to have a way out, he had to humble himself in front of me. Isabella, we were husband and wife after all. Can you help me persuade Ethan? We founded this company together. Don't you have the heart to watch it be destroyed? Without the investment from the Ethan Group and having offended the William Group, everyone knew very well what the company would face. Bankruptcy was just a matter of time. Sister of Ethan, please be kind and persuade Ethan. This company is the hard work of all of us. You can't just watch us lose our jobs. The receptionist even wished she could kneel down in front of me. Once she lost this job and offended me, her life would probably hit rock bottom. Looking at this scene, Ethan stroked my head. Isabella, leave this matter to you. No matter what decision you make, your brother won't blame you. Hearing these words, Julian seemed to see hope. He knelt down with a thud. Wife, I was wrong about everything in the past. Can you give me another chance? I sneered and took a few steps back in disgust. Shut up. We're already divorced. Seeing my resolute attitude, Julian suddenly started slapping himself in the face frantically. Isabella, I was wrong. Please forgive me, okay? You know that the company can't manage its cash flow now. Without this investment, the company will have no way out. Can you please say something nice to your brother for me? I'm begging you, I'm really begging you. Julian now was like a dog wagging its tail and begging for mercy. Daphne finally couldn't stand it anymore and grabbed his arm, trying to pull him up. Julian, are you a man? How can you kneel down to a woman? The company has been doing well in recent years. Even without their investment, we can still develop it. As soon as she finished speaking, Julian pushed her away and slapped her in the face. What do you know, you're such a shallow woman. If it wasn't for Ethan's support in recent years, do you think the company could have developed so fast? Now we not only lost the investment but also offended the William family. How can we possibly have a way out in the future? It's all because of you, you bitch. If it weren't for you, would I have divorced Isabella? Would I have ended up like this? I was really blind to ruin my bright future for a woman like you. Julian didn't hold back his push at all, and Daphne fell to the ground with a thud. Blood flowed down her thigh, and her face turned pale with fright. Julian, my stomach hurts so much. Save me. Seeing this scene, I instinctively wanted to take out my phone and call the emergency number. But Julian remained unmoved and instead continued to scold her. Bitch, you deserve it. The company is gone. What use do I have for you and the child? After saying that, he turned to me again. Isabella, I promise you that I will never be bewitched by this bitch again. I don't love the children she gave birth to anymore. Can you give me another chance? I promise I will only love you from now on. I promise. Looking at Julian's crazy appearance, I just felt disgusted. In the end, I still called the emergency number. Ethan pulled me. Let's go, Isabella. This scene is too bloody. Don't let it dirty your eyes. William looked around with a half smile and then looked at the receptionist who was desperately trying to lower her presence. Miss, if I remember correctly, you just cursed at me, right? I have a pretty good temper and I'm not that irritable. Just wait patiently for the lawyer's letter from the William Group. As expected, Julian's company went bankrupt soon. Daphne didn't manage to keep the baby, and she had her uterus removed due to massive bleeding. The next time I heard news about them was half a year later. It turned out that since going bankrupt, Julian's temper had been getting worse and worse. Having offended both the Ethan family and the William family, he couldn't find a job at all and could only drink heavily all day long. When he was drunk, he would bring up old scores with Daphne and beat her several times. Daphne couldn't stand it anymore and eloped with someone, taking the child with her. Unexpectedly, she was caught red-handed by Julian. The adulterer was Daphne's ex-boyfriend. The two of them still had feelings for each other and got back together. After being caught in the act of adultery, Daphne knew that things couldn't end well. Filled with hatred, she simply spilled out everything. It turned out that neither of her two children was Julian's. Back then, when she broke up with her boyfriend and was pregnant with nowhere to go, she thought of Julian as a scapegoat. Even after she had a stable relationship with Julian, the two of them had been secretly in touch. With such a cuckold's hat on his head, Julian was extremely angry. In a fit of rage, he directly hacked the adulterous couple to death with a kitchen knife. Only a poor child was left and was sent to an orphanage. Julian was also sentenced to death. Upon learning this news, I had mixed feelings in my heart. I had loved someone I shouldn't have, and it had wasted so many years of my youth. But fortunately, it wasn't too late. Now, I had become the real daughter of the Ethan family. I also established my own career again. William had bribed my brother and was chasing me openly and vigorously. But for me now, love was secondary. For the rest of my life, I will live a wonderful life.